Hi, my name is Val, and I grew up in a home that wasn't safe. This video is the beginning of me telling the truth. For me, for my younger self, and for my brother, who is 20 years younger. And maybe for you too. Before we start, I would like to mention a trigger warning. This video mentions childhood abuse, emotional neglect, and complex trauma. Please take care while watching. I was 3 years old when I first went grocery shopping. Alone. I thought it was a cool thing to do. And over time, I used to tell this story with a lot of pride. Look at me, little tiny toddler, a little Miss Independent. But now, given everything that I know and everything that I've gone through and the therapy that I have successfully completed for now, I realized that was not independence. That was survival. And let me tell you why. I was a toddler, frozen in fear, trying to perform in order to survive. When I finally allowed myself to remember the true memories that happened to me in my childhood, especially the ones that have to do with this grocery store shopping thing, what I remember is the dread that I experienced when I had to leave our apartment with a plastic bag and change that felt very heavy in my small toddler hand. I remember walking on the pavement and my legs were barely moving. I remember I was so scared of the glances of our neighbors, who at the time seemed pretty scary to me. I remember having to cross the street, which nowadays seems so small and insignificant, but at that time, the 90-degree turn that a car had to take to drive into the courtyard of our apartment buildings, it felt like I was avoiding an F1 race. And once I crossed that, I had to go further into a store that felt like a bunker. It had one small window, and it was dark inside, and the fridge displays were so big that I couldn't even see in them. There were usually 2 ladies working there, and I remember I had one task. I usually would have to buy milk or bread or some other small household kitchen item that was not too heavy. And I couldn't speak. It was just this lump in my throat that would prevent me from saying what I needed. I was also so afraid to mess up. I was afraid to forget what I needed. Because I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't have a note. And those ladies seeing me walking into the store, they probably thought I was cute. But they expressed it by laughing. And in my world, when adults laughed, that means that they were mocking you. So what I perceived and experienced was 2 strangers laughing, demeaning me for trying to survive. But then I would say what I needed and they would hand it to me, and I would pass them the coins. And then as fast as I could, I would always try to remove myself from that store and rush back home, because I knew there was the same kind of journey waiting for me. To cross the street, to walk on the pavement, to go up the stairs, to meet the glances of the neighbors staring at me. And I would always forget to take the change. And if I forgot to take the change, I would be punished. Not just punished by having to go back and take the change, but punished physically once again. I always forgot the change. Nobody talks about a toddler who has to survive a flight or fight situation, whose nervous system freezes because they are so crippled by fear and anxiety that they are unable to function. And those toddlers grow up and they carry a lot of trauma and pain. But that is not all I have to tell you today. There was this one time when I was about 8 years old and it was summertime and my mom had to be away from the home for a couple of hours. So I went downstairs and I gathered all of my neighborhood friends and I invited them over to my apartment for a house party. I thought that that was going to be a very special day. I decided to wear my very special occasion shoes, who had a tiny little heel, and I put on some sort of nice clothes. I mean, it was early 2000s, so imagine what nice clothes meant back then. My friends came, we blasted MTV on the television, full sound, we opened the windows, and I think I may have made some tea. I'm not sure what beverages I was serving, but it was just a kids' party, and we were having fun, and I felt important, and I felt seen. And to top it all off, to really feel seen, to really feel like the world might love me, I decided to stick my legs out our apartment window, just like this. And I was dangling my feet with my super cute heels on. And I thought, if just the neighbors could see me, if they just saw my heels, then maybe they would see how pretty I am, and maybe then I would be worthy of love. It was amazing until somebody screamed, "Your mom is coming back home." And it was like the time at a illegal party when somebody screams, "The police is here, the police is here." This is how it felt that time. Adrenaline rushing through my blood. I'm actually cold. Adrenaline was rushing through my blood. I cleaned up that space in record time, kicked all of my friends out, and I thought I made it. I mean, the apartment was spotless, the music was off, the people were out, and then my mom came through the door. And instead of greeting me, she started asking me questions. What were you doing? What happened here? She was smiling. She was kind of pleasant, and that worried me the most. When she started asking these questions, I already knew that no matter what I answer, I would be beaten. One of the boys that was at my party snitched on me before she came upstairs. He told her that I threw a party, that I invited all of the kids, that I opened the windows, that I blasted the music, and that I wore the shoes inside the house and stuck my legs out of the window. She beat me so hard. And I was begging. I was begging, "Mom, please don't beat me. Please, I will never do it again. I'm begging you." But my pleas did not resonate with her. She kept screaming, "Why?" That was her favorite question when she was punishing me. Why? Why did you do this? Why did you do this to me? That's what she would ask me. I find it so cruel. After she was done beating me, I realized something. There was something different about it that time. That time, she wasn't even angry. She was calm. She was focused. Almost felt like she had a smile on her face. It's like as if she enjoyed it. When she was done, she told me to get lost. That I was making her nervous, I was pissing her off. She told me to go outside, which I didn't want to do because it was so embarrassing for me. But I did go outside, all red, eyes full of tears, anxious, stressed out. And as I walked outside, the boys that were at my party pointed their fingers at me and mocked me. I remember that day my heart broke twice. The first time when she beat me with a smile on her face, that little sigh of satisfaction. And the second time, when my peers not only betrayed me, but also mocked me for my pain. Come here, sit. Good girl, that's a sit. Down. Good girl, that's a down. Good job, Zoya. Good girl, you're a good girl. Good job. This is my dog Zoya, and I treat her with kindness and patience and love and only positive reinforcement. She has never been beaten. She has never been strictly disciplined, unless, of course, she's running under the car. Then I will yell at her. But other than that, even if I raise her hand at me, oh, she doesn't flinch. Actually, that's a sit command. Good job. Yes, you understood that. But my mom, she trained me to be a puppet in her theater. To be a puppet in my mom's theater meant that I could never say no, that I wasn't allowed to choose, and that boundaries were unsafe. Any negative emotion or flinch could warrant her saying, "Go get me the belt." Sometimes I would be threatened ahead of time of my punishment. We'd be in public and she would command me to perform something or do something. And I was a very shy kid, and I would just get down to myself, shoulders in, chin down. I would say, "No, Mom, I really don't want to do it." And she would grab me by my ear, pull really hard, and say, "If you don't do this right now, I'm going to beat you so hard when we get home." And I did it. And then we would go out back into the same public, into the same company, and I would be with a red ear, red flushed cheeks, tears on the verge of tears, and she would just act like nothing ever happened. Like I was a little dramatic kid. Like it's not a big deal. And it really broke me every single time. And one time she did threaten me, and she made a promise that when we get home, she was gonna beat me. And the whole way home, I was so terrified. I was like, I know my fate. It's horrible. And yeah, that was a death ride, if you will. We came back home. She opened the door. She took her shoes off. And I just stood there in the corridor waiting for her to tell me to go get the belt. Because yes, I always had to go get my punishment tool myself. So I stood there waiting, and for a few minutes, nothing happened. She just went on ahead with her day. But being the good puppet that I was, the good Christian girl, and I also had one selfish reason. My friend was coming over later that day, and I just didn't want to look like I cried and had bloodshot eyes. So I thought, you know what? She is definitely going to beat me. Why I don't just get over it with it now? Mind you, I was 7 years old. So I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, you said that you were gonna beat me." And she was like, "Yeah, I did. For what?" And I reminded her for what. And she was like, "I forgot. Yeah, go ahead, bring me the belt." She beat me. And I cried. And it hurt. But I was so nonchalant for her. I was like, yeah, I forgot. And after every single beating, my mom would call me to console me, and she would put special creams on my bruises so that they heal better. And then she would look me dead in the eye and would say, "You know that I beat you because I love you, right? You understand that I just want you to be a good girl. Do you understand it?" And I would nod and say, "Yes, mommy, I understand." And I actually believed it. I believed that I was a bad kid. Because believing that I was bad was much easier for my nervous system than to accept that she was abusive or unsafe. For years, I tried to escape. I tried to escape my home by going to school, by hanging out with friends if I had any. Sometimes it would be even church. I cherished every single time I could spend with my grandparents away from my mom. And the worst kind of escape actually happened within my mind. When children cannot cope with a toxic environment or abusive parents, they actually start disassociating in a very young age. And I started disassociating at around the age of 8. But I didn't know that until I started therapy. It would go something like this. I'll be standing in the kitchen peeling potatoes at the kitchen sink. There would be a counter between me and the oven, and my mom would be frying something on the stove above the oven. She would be addressing me like saying, Valeria, can you pass me the knife? And when she would get no response, she would raise her voice, and then she would keep raising her voice. And what she didn't know is that I was completely in a different world. My brain has completely frozen everything around me, so I couldn't hear a thing. I was not there. It was an out-of-body disassociative experience because my nervous system couldn't cope. And to get me out of that state, she would have to hit me. And usually it would be a hit and a blow to my head or a push to my body. And when I would get out of that, snap out of it, I would just be in shock because all of a sudden this person is screaming at me and yelling at me, and I absolutely don't understand why. And I would plead and beg with her and say, Mommy, I really didn't hear you. I really, really didn't hear you. Please forgive me. I really didn't hear you. And she would treat that as manipulation. She would say that I'm lying. And then she would force me to go get the belt, and I would be punished. And you know what the irony is? My mom has a psychology degree. Something to do with child development and family relationships. Ironic, right? Super ironic. Anyway, my disassociation ended the day when I finally gave up. And as she was beating me, I had to finally say, You're right, Mom. I have been lying to you. I heard everything and I ignored you on purpose. Why? Because at that moment, at that beating, she was like, I'm not going to stop until you tell me the truth. And that beating was going on for a while because I was like, I am telling the truth. This is the truth. But the truth wasn't good enough. So I was punished, and so I admitted something that didn't happen, and since then I developed hypervigilance. Was hyper aware of her movement, of the way her body switched on the couch when she was watching TV. I was hyper aware of her breath. And as a very young child, at around age of 8, I was managing my mom's emotional state. Because if she was in a bad mood, I was a victim. And if she was in a good mood, I was the servant or the puppet. There was no winning for me. There was no escape. For years, I would disassociate from my life. I would feel like my childhood was a life that a previous soul of mine lived. But now, I claim it. And even though I feel like I have not been protected by my stepdad, by teachers, by friends, by other adults, even by my grandma, who was my only understanding of home and safety and love, I felt all alone. And then whenever my mom would be beating me, I decided that I need to overcome it, that I'm stronger than that. I made a promise for myself that I will not let her break me, that I will survive and I will get through it and I will get out. And I did. That promise kept me alive. And while I did get out, I left with several suitcases filled with toxic beliefs that I had to spend many, many years and still am unlearning. I'm not enough. I am hard to love. If I am good, I will be safe. My needs don't matter. Love equals pain. If they hurt me, it's because I deserve it. I have to earn my worth and prove my value. Boundaries are dangerous. I don't have a voice. If any of this sounds familiar to you, and your childhood too was more survival than safety, you're not alone. I made this channel for us, for the kids we once were, and for the adults we're becoming, and for my brother. Hey, brother. Subscribe, stick around. Let's go on this journey together. Let's talk about things that we were not allowed to talk about. And let's say them out loud. Let's claim our story together. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.